Hey everybody, it's another video tutorial with Dr. Ramey. I know that I look a little silly with this GoPro camera on my head, but some of the video you're going to be seeing my point of view through the lens of the GoPro camera, and some of the video you're going to be able to see what I'm doing through the other camera after some editing on my part. Hopefully it'll all come together. Okay, so you can see that this tutorial is on using the oil immersion lens. Alright, I've got my microscope already at my desk, at my bench top, set up and ready to go, and I have a prepared slide right here with 3 types of bacteria. Okay, so I'm going to start off like I do with any other specimen. I'm going to put it on the stage there, center it up using the mechanical stage. Okay, got some light coming through the specimen, right? And now I'm going to start my focusing process the same as I always have. Note that before this occurred, I have checked to make sure, I've already checked to make sure that everything, the microscope was clean, okay, and I've cleaned it if necessary. And I'll show you how to clean it afterward. Although I can see that there is a smudge here on one of the oculars. So to clean the microscope, you never use a paper towel. You will always use, in your community drawer, you should always have some lens paper. Alright, so I'm going to pull off a piece of lens paper, and I am going to simply clean. Okay, it's pretty common to get some smudges on the oculars because people are making contact with those lenses even though they shouldn't be, but it's a common mistake, especially when you are learning basic microscopy techniques. Okay, so I'll keep that lens paper on the side there in case I need it, because I will need some lens paper again when I'm finished so that I can clean up the oil after I'm done with the microscope. So now I'm going to go through my focusing process, starting with the lowest power objective, raise the stage all the way up. I'm going to remove my safety glasses because it's easier to work with a microscope without them. I'm going to adjust my ocular lenses. Okay, and now I'm going to find my specimen. Now when you're working with a very small specimen, it is more difficult to find what you're looking for, so you have to be a bit more careful. I can see that this ocular lens over here is not quite matched up, so I made an adjustment there, and now I found the plane of focus. But I'm going to make sure, and I'm going to do the jiggle test with the mechanical stage, and I can see movement of the bacteria, and I'm going to make a fine focus adjustment there. I'm going to make a light adjustment. I'm going to make sure that my iris diaphragm for now is all the way open. Alright, and now I'm ready to go move up to the next highest power objective, which is the 10x objective for 100x total magnification. I'm going to use the fine focus knob to make a focus adjustment. Only the fine focus knob now. I'll make a position adjustment with the mechanical stage if necessary. And once I'm good there, then I'm going to move up to the next highest power objective, which is the 40x lens for total magnification of 100x. Now I can really see it looks a lot dimmer, so I can really see the decrease in brightness. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn up my light a little bit, and then fine-tune the focus using only the using only the fine focus knob. You will only use the coarse focus knob with the lowest power objective, okay, or if you are intentionally wanting to lower the stage quickly when you're done with everything else. Once you focus in on using the lowest power objective and move up to the next highest power or higher power objectives, you will not touch the coarse focus knob again until you're completely done and you want to quickly lower the stage. Alright, so I'm now focused as good as possible with using the 40x objective, which is a total magnification of 400x. Now this is where it becomes really important that you center up, you position your specimen. And there's a lot of bacteria that I can see in here at 400 power, but it's not good enough. I want to look at my bacteria at 1,000 times magnification, which is, to do that, I need to use the 100x oil immersion lens. So it's very important that you position your specimen where you're going to find it. When you move up to the oil immersion lens, you're going to be able to find it. So the best place to put it is somewhere very close to the tip of the pointer. You find what looks like a good group of specimens, in this case a good group of bacterial cells. I'm going to put it near the tip of the pointer, and I am now ready to swing up to the oil immersion lens. Okay, the oil immersion lens is the longest objective lens. It will come very close to touching your slide, but if you focus properly, it will not touch the slide. So here's what you need to do at this point. You need to use the revolving nose piece to position the objective lenses so that your specimen on the slide is right in between the 40x lens and the 100x lens. And this is to give you enough room to add oil to the slide before you move into before you move the 100x lens into position. So if you look in your community drawer, you will find a little bottle of oil. Okay, now this is where things can get messy, so you have to be careful with this, with your oil. And so that your oil doesn't spill on your counter, you also have a little kind of cup container that you will use to keep your oil in, right? So if you were to knock this over with the lens, or excuse me, with the cap off or loose, then we would have, I keep having the lights go off. So I'm going to pause for a second, move around, turn the lights back on. Okay, now the lights are back on. Okay, so if you were to knock this over with the cap off or loose, it would make a huge mess of oil on your bench. So to prevent that, I'm going to keep it in the cup. Okay, I know you can't see that on one point of view, but you can hopefully see it in the other point of view there. All right, so I'm going to pull this out, pull the bottle of oil out. Okay, now I'm going to let some of the oil will drop off the end of this little glass rod. Okay, so you have to time it right so that when the oil drops off, it drops off on your specimen, okay, and not somewhere that you don't want it to drop. So you kind of have to time it and then let it drop right on your specimen. And if it takes too long, then you can if it won't drop, then you have to go into the bottle and get some more. But what you don't want to do is touch the slide with the dropper. So I almost don't have enough oil there. So I'm going to go in and get some more oil. Careful, and there's exactly what you shouldn't do, but that's okay because this is a learning experience. Okay, so I dropped some oil, as you can see, right down there. So do you think it's okay to leave that oil there? Absolutely not. It's okay that it happened, right? Even me, an experienced microbiologist, it can happen sometimes. I'm shaky, had a little bit too much coffee this morning maybe, right? So I'm going to remember that there's some oil there. I'm not going to worry about it for now. When I'm done looking at my specimen, I'm going to remember that oil is there, and I'm going to clean it up properly. Okay. So now the oil is in position. I am going to slowly swing the oil immersion lens, and it will swing into the oil, and that's exactly what you want to have happen. All right? It'll swing into the oil. And once that oil immersion lens clicks into place, now you are ready to fine-tune your specimen. So again, it's important that you only use the fine focus knob. You're probably going to have to make an adjustment on the light intensity. Probably going to need to make it a little bit brighter. And I know that you can't see what I'm looking at. But if you've done a really good job focusing as you move up in magnification through those objective lenses, by the way, where does this go? It goes back in there. If you've done a really good job focusing as you move up through those objective lenses, then you will probably not have a problem finding your specimen when you swing up to the 100x oil immersion lens. If you at first do not see your specimen, then make very, very minute changes, adjustments to only the fine focus, because it's very easy to lose your specimen. And once you've added oil to the lens, you can't just go back and start over. There is no, to start over you would have to clean the oil off the lens and clean the oil off of the slide and then restart the whole process. Okay, so it's not quite as simple as just going back down to lower power magnifications. And in fact, the only lens that is designed, the only objective lens that is designed to make contact with the oil is the 100x oil immersion lens. So if I were to swing back to the 40x objective lens, it would probably get oil on it, and it's very common to have damaged 40x lenses or 40x objective lenses that don't work very well or are cloudy, particularly in microscopes that are used in teaching labs, and that is because of the tendency to get oil on the 40x lens, which is not engineered, is not designed to have oil on it. So some of that oil seeps up into the lens over time and might cause the lens to become cloudy. So it's really important that once you put oil on the slide, you're only using the 100x oil immersion lens to look at that specimen. So I'm going to fine-tune my focus. I might have to make a minor position adjustment or even look around at some of the other cells once I'm completely focused. I can look around at the other cells. I can swing. This particular slide has 3 different types of bacteria on it. So once I'm focused on one type of bacteria and I'm done looking at that type of bacteria, I can then kind of move side to side and find the other type of bacteria, right? So once you're focused on using the 100x lens, you can move around and the oil will kind of go with the lens. It'll move around too. So if you don't have oil on there, it won't focus right. That's the reason why we have to use that oil immersion lens, and it has to do with the refractive properties of light. And as you increase in magnification, going through air at 1000x magnification, if light moving through air refracts in a manner that will prevent a really good fine focus. So in order to correct for that, the light needs to move through oil. So that's why you add oil. So there's no air between the specimen and the lens when you use oil. So the light doesn't pass through air, it passes through the oil. So it changes its angle of refraction such that the specimen can be focused at 1000x very, very well. Okay, very, very well. So you get a nice look at your very small bacterial specimens. Okay, so once you are done with that, and of course there's really no way that you can see what I see, but I'm going to see if there's anything I can do about that. It's not letting me. Let me see if I can flip this around. And okay, so let's see if some students are good at this. All right, there you go. You see those purple, kind of purplish looking bacteria? That is what I'm looking at. I know it's moving around. I'm doing the best I can here. Okay, there's a whole bunch of them there. Okay, ooh. Okay, that's what you want. Looks nice. This is the issue when I have too much coffee. Okay. All right. So you gotta look there at what one type of bacteria, rod-shaped or bacillus morphology bacteria look like. There, really briefly, you're going to be looking at these all the time in the lab, different types of bacteria, and using that oil immersion lens a lot in the lab. So hopefully this tutorial will help you. You may have already used the oil immersion lens in lab, but this is nice to help refresh your memory. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is cover how to clean, how to clean the microscope, because when you use the oil immersion lens, it's really important that it's properly cleaned. So now that I'm done looking at my specimen, I can turn the light off. If I'm done with the microscope, I'm going to turn the light off with a light switch. If I'm going to use the microscope more, I don't want to turn the light off until I'm completely done with the microscope for the day, for example, because turning the bulb on and off is bad for the bulb. So I'm going to turn the intensity of the bulb down because I'm going to look at some more specimens. And then I'm going to use the coarse focus knob. Let me bring this down where you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. I'm going to use the coarse focus knob to bring the stage all the way down. Alright, I know you can't really see my face, but you can see what I'm doing. Alright, so once the stage is all the way down, then I can pull my specimen, or I can pull the slide out. Now remember, there's oil on this slide, so I've got to clean the slide before I put it away. Right? So I've got to clean all the oil off of this slide, and you know it requires you to kind of wipe it pretty good, and you might have to use more than one lens paper. So you use lens paper to clean the prepared slides as well. So of course in the community drawer, and if you run out or you're missing lens paper or oil, then you need to let me know. And I'm going to make sure that this slide is cleaned really well. And then I'm going to make sure that I put the slide back in the proper slide tray. Okay, so I'm going to put this to the side for now, and I'm going to make sure it goes back in its proper tray when I'm done. And now I've got the microscope to contend with. So remember, I dropped some oil down here, kind of under the stage a little bit. I'm going to make sure that I clean that up really good right now. Make sure there's no oil at all down there. Okay. And if I've dropped oil on the stage, I'm going to make sure that I clean the stage really well. Okay, but there's no oil on the stage because I didn't drop any. And then now I can move this oil immersion lens over to the side a little bit where I can get to it easier. And it's got a lot of oil on it too. Okay, they always will. And you can see the oil. You can probably see the oil right there on the paper. Okay, because it makes the paper look wet, right? Because it's got oil on it. So I'm going to keep wiping, and then the other thing I want to point out about the oil immersion lenses is they're kind of spring loaded. So if you use lens paper and then gently push with your finger, you'll feel it give. Okay, so when you clean these, you need to make sure that you push it a little bit, and any oil that might have gotten trapped up in there where that little part of the lens that is giving way is, that it'll come out. Okay, and once you've wiped it and you don't see any more wetness on the lens paper, then you're probably in good shape, right? Check it a couple times. If you've made a mistake and you've gotten oil on any of the other lenses, then make sure that you've cleaned the oil off of those lenses thoroughly as well. And then finally, if you see any smudge marks on the oculars, or you've noticed anything else on the microscope that needs to be cleaned, make sure you clean all that as well. And then you're ready to put your microscope away, right? If you're not ready to put your microscope away, you probably don't have to clean everything until you're done looking at all your specimens. So if there's a little oil left on the oil immersion lens in between one specimen and another, that's okay, because it's going to get oil on it again anyway. So no need to go through this cleaning process every time, but you go through the cleaning process when you're finished with looking at all your specimens for that particular day. Once you're finished, then you go through that cleaning process, and then you get your microscope ready to put away, and then you tell me that your microscope is ready to put away, right? And I'm going to come over with a piece of lens paper, and I am going to check your lenses. So if I swipe your lens and there's any oil there, or if I swipe anywhere on the microscope and there's any oil where I swipe, it's going to come through on the lens paper loud and clear, and it looks like a wet mark. and then I will let you know that you in fact are not done and ready to put your microscope away because you haven't cleaned it properly. Once all that takes place, of course, make sure that the cap is secure on the oil and it's in its little cup, and that goes back in the community area. Make sure that any lens paper that you have out goes back in the community area, and make sure that your microscope gets put away in the cabinet properly in the proper position based on its number. Okay, I hope that was helpful to everyone, and I will see you in lab.